Click here to subscribe our channel and do not forget to press the bell icon to get regular updates of our videos. Hello friends, good evening to all of you. So I'm back with another video on Sociology optional subject for UPSC CSE means examination. In this video we are going to cover the working class, structure, growth and class mobilization under the industrialization and urbanization in India. So friend, please do these shares as it really motivates me to do this awesome course. Share as much as possible so that more and more people will get benefited. Comment and like the video and ask any doubt if you have. And now you can also follow us on MB page, that is facebook.com/Unorthodox Academy. So friend, as you know that we are covering slot 4, that is work, economic life, agriculture, industry. In paper 1 we have finished topic 6, that is work and economic life, and paper 2 we have finished rural and agrarian transformation in India. And in this video we are going to cover the working class, structure, growth and class mobilization under the industrialization and urbanization in India. So friend, the modern working class came into being with the rise of capitalist mode of production. This mode of production brought with it the factory type of industry. In other words, rise of factory system of productions and working class happened simultaneously. Conversely, without a factory or industry, there can be no working class but only working people. So in the Marxian perspective, the capitalist society will be characterized with the two principal classes. The first class is the bourgeois, or we can say the capitalist, and the second were the proletariats, or we can say the industrial worker. So the bourgeois will own the mean of productions and proletariat will sell their labor for wages in the order to live. The Marxist meaning of these terms have been specified clearly by Engel in the footnotes to the Communist Manifesto. By bourgeois is meant the class of modern capitalists, and by proletariat the class of modern wage laborers. Hence bourgeois is synonymous with the capitalists and proletariat with the working class. In recent years, Marxist view on working class has been countered essentially from two views, giving contradictions of analysis. The first view is the working class is literally disappearing with the automation of industry and apparent displacement of blue-collar jobs. The working class is fast shrinking in size. However, the fact is that it is not the disappearance of working class as a whole, but the blue-collar workers are disappearing. Second view states the opposite. In this view, all society is becoming working class. That is, students, teachers, blue-collar workers, white-collar workers, and salaried employees of various kinds are all workers. The working class is not disappearing by elimination, but is in fact expanding with everybody joining it except a few capitalists at the top. This view emphasizes the so-called blurring of class boundaries but overlooks the important social distinction between classes. Moreover, those distinctions are still very much prevalent in the society. However, the question still remains, who are the working class? So as M. Hallstrom defines it, people commonly refer to the industrial workers and sometimes other kind of wage earners and self-employed workers as the working class. Usually this means a group who share similar economic situations, which distinguishes them from others like property owners, employees and managers. It suggests a common interest and shared consciousness of these interests. This implies that like other classes, the defining feature of working class is their understanding of a common interest and shared consciousness. However, in recent times, these two concepts have become difficult to actualize for the working class due to their own internal divisions and diverse socio-economic and ethnic backgrounds. So now we see the structure. So the India has a multi-structural economy where a number of pre-capitalist relation of production coexist with capitalist relation of production. Correspondingly, here exists a differentiated working class structure, that is the numerous type of relations of production, consumption and accumulation of surplus combined to produce a variety of forms of the existence of the working class. This is further compounded by the structural features of pan-Indian society along with local conditions. So the composition of working class is affected by caste, tribe, ethnic origin and the gender-based division of labor between male and female and associated patriarchy. This implies that despite internal structure differences and the relation of productions through which working people have been and continues to be, there exists a group of people denoted as working class. Then it becomes pertinent to analyze the growth of working class in India. This particularly so when one considers two facts. The first, in India prior to the 19th century there were vast working people not working class. And the second, the growth of capitalist mode of productions along with industrialization which was imposed by the colonial masters. So given such an eventful history and growth of the working class in India, it is worthwhile to examine its structure, nature of the working class in the present day circumstances. So as mentioned above, due to the existence of multi-structural economy and effects of primordial affiliations, variety of forms of the working class exist in India. On top of all the differences, the difference in wage is also the basis of divisions among the working class. So on the basis of wage, there are 4 types of worker. The first, those workers who are permanent employees of the large factory sector and getting family wage. By family wage, it is mean that the wage of workers should be sufficient to maintain and reproduce to only the individual but also the workers' family. They are mostly employed in the public sector enterprises and modern sectors of petrochemicals, pharmaceutical, chemicals and engineering. And second, a large and preponderant sections of the working class that does not get a family wage. This includes workers in the old industries like cotton, jute, textile, sugar and paper. Even the permanent workers in the tea plantations come in the same category because the owners refuse to accept the norm of family wage for individual workers. And the third one is the sections of the working class which are at the bottom of wage scales. They are the mass of contract and sometimes casual workers in industry, including construction, brick making and other casual workers. And the fourth below all these lie a reserve army of labor who work in the petty commodities production, in petty trading, ranging from hawking to rag picking, and they are generally engaged in informal sector carrying on for the want of sufficient survival wage. The existence of majority of workers who are not paid family wage means that either the worker gets some form of supplement from the other non-capitalist sector or the workers and his or her family cut down their consumption below the minimum standard. This also means that there is more than one wage earner per household. So now, not only there is a wage differential among working class, but variations are also there in terms of working conditions. Hence, better paid labor has also much greater job security. However, the worker on the lower end of wage scale have not only job security but also have considerable extra economic coercion and personal bondage which leads to the lack of civil rights. Similarly, working conditions for the low paid workers are uniformly worse than for high paid workers. So in the same plant or the site, there is a clear difference in the safety measures for the two group of workers. The situation worsens further with regard to women workers. For example, women are not allowed to work in the steel plant for safety reasons but are not prohibited to be employed on the same site as contract labor. With such major divisions among the working class of India on the basis of wage, one would expect that there would be a large scale mobility among the workers. So a worker would start as a casual or contract labor in a firm and then would move to permanent employment either in the same or the other firm. So now we see the growth. So with the growth of modern factory industries, the factory workers gradually shaped themselves into a distinct category. The concentrations of the working class in the cities near the industrial enterprise was an extremely important factor in the formation of workers as a class. Similar conditions in factories and common living conditions made the workers feel alike and react in similar fashion. In other words, the principal factors underlying the growth and formation of the working mass as a class in India in the later half of 19th century and at the beginning of the 20th century although bears similarities with the advanced countries of Europe. Hence the consciousness of being exploited by the capitalists or the owners of factories was evident as early as 1888 when workers of Shamnagar jute mill assaulted the manager Mr. Kiddle. That is, the reaction against the exploitation in early phases were marked by riots, affrays, assaults and physical violence. So the end of 19th century and the beginning of 20th was marked by the organized national movement and consolidation of the working class. The national movement, especially in Bengal and Maharashtra, had already assumed a developed form which exerted a great impact on the later national awakening of the entire country. The partition of Bengal in the year 1905 arose bitter public anger and gave rise to a mass national upsurge. This political development worked as a favorable conditions for the Indian working class too for moving ahead with its economic structure and raising them to higher pitch. The period for the beginning of the century till the outbreak of the First World War was marked with the widespread and dogged struggle of the workers. And not only economic struggle, the Indian working class achieved the feat in the political struggle also. So that is, this struggle led to the laying of foundations of the first trade unions of the country. Moreover, the turn of the century was also marked with the advance in industrialization, with the concomitant swelling of the working class in numerical strength. So the working class did not fail to occupy its own place in the anti-imperialist struggle. In this regard, it is important to note that the background of political struggle during 1905 to 8 is the unprecedented dimension of class struggle waged by Indian working class in the national and international setup of the post-war period against capitalist exploitations bore more significance from the point of view of workers' class consciousness than the birth of the central class organization of Indian working class at the right moment when national political awakening was at its peak and they were conscious as also. So, as soon as India became independent, the political climate of the country changed, and this was particularly so for the working class too. That is, till independence, political and economic struggle of the working class was directed against the colonial masters. But with independence began a new political dynamics where power was in the hands of capitalists and landlords. Their economic interests were directly countered to those of the working class. So the independence aroused immense hopes and aspirations among all sections of the society, but was accompanied with huge rise in prices and continuous fall in the real wages of the workers. So moreover, the ruling class has embarked upon a path of building capitalism in the newly independent country. This brought in immense hardship and suffering to the toiling masses, which generated powerful resistance of the working class all over the country. So now we see the class mobilization. So Indian working class, as mentioned earlier, came from diverse social backgrounds in which primordial identities such as caste, ethnicity, religion and language played very important roles. But in the recent years, the significance of these elements reduced, but they do persist. So in this regard, Ahmedabad study of Subramaniam and Papola points out that where jobs are secured through introductions by other workers, the latter was a blood relation in 35% of the cases, belong to the same caste in another 44% and belong to the same native place in another 12%, friends helps in 7% of the cases. So several other studies have pointed out not only play a significant role in securing the employment but also in the placement in wage scale. Then K.L. Sharma in his 5 studies of Pune, Kota, Bombay, Ahmedabad and Bangalore covering large number of industries found that 61% of the workers were upper caste Hindus. Then the dominant position of workers from upper caste was also brought out in a study of Kerala. In this study point out that in higher income jobs, upper caste dominates, whereas Dalits or Adivasis have preponderance in the low wage jobs. The middle castes are concentrated in the middle to the bottom ranges. Even in public sector, the representation of backward caste, scheduled caste and tribe is not up to their proportions in the population. Moreover, it seems that caste-based division of labor is followed in the class 3 and 4 jobs in government and in public sector enterprises. So the jobs of sweepers are reserved for Dalits and Adivasis. In coal mines, the hard physical labor of loading and pushing the coal tubes is done by Dalits and Adivasis. In a steel plant, the production worker in the intense heat of coke oven and blast furnace is mainly done by Adivasis and Dalits. This is because, as Deshpande points out, of the pre-labor market characteristics such as education and land holding. So those who possessed more land and educations ended up in higher wage sector. But then if upper caste and lower caste people own comparable levels of landholding and educations, the upper caste workers will get into higher segment of wage than lower caste workers. This is because the continuing importance of caste ties in recruitment. Caste also serves the function in ensuring the labor supply for different jobs with fact of not paying more than what is necessary. In other words, the depressed condition of Adivasis and Dalits helps in ensuring a supply of labor who can be made to work at the mere subsistence labor. So hence, caste on one hand plays the role in keeping the lower sections of the society into the lower state of the working class. On the other hand, the upper caste get a privilege in the labor market. Further, caste is not only a matter of marriage and to an extent residence, but more so a continuing pool of social relations for the supply of various kinds of labor for the capitalist mode of production. The working class at the conceptual level seems to be fairly simple, but if one tries to define it, the problem magnifies. The reason is that this is not a homogeneous entity, rather it is a complex, contradictory and constantly changing entity. So thank you guys for listening and watching this video. Thank you.